is happening now? The Schumer voted for the resolution, but now there's a fight over reconciliation. And it sounds like what Senator Graham is saying is now they're trying to go back on what they voted for.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mess. So first of all, they cleared the decks when it comes to funding the federal government through the end of the fiscal year, through the end of September. And now what they're pivoting to is this budget resolution. Normally you would do the budget before you are doing the actual spending vehicle, in this case, the continuing resolution. But in this instance, they're just using the budget to open up the conversation for reconciliation. And that is the big, beautiful bill. That's where we're going to have the tax provisions, where we're going to have the border security, the defense spending that Senator Graham talked about, as well as hopefully some very meaningful spending cuts to start getting this ship turned around and start getting our fiscal condition in better order.
Well, so I'm hearing Congressman Ralph Norman was on this program. He said the problem is there are factions of even Republicans that want to split this up into bills, not do one budget. So what's the problem? Why are there some Republicans that want to split this up?
Well, there's some Republicans that don't want to cut spending, first and foremost, and they recognize that this big, beautiful bill is going to contain meaningful spending cuts, full stop, because you have folks like Ralph Norman and many other leaders, particularly in the House of Representatives, but a handful in the Senate as well. But you see people like Jody Arrington, the chairman of the Budget Committee. I spoke to him this week, and he says he's got 30 or so members of Congress that are not going to let a big bill pass unless it starts to cut spending. And I really believe him when he says that. So yeah, we're going to have to cut spending. Some of the Republicans are going to have to grit their teeth while they cast these votes, but it's going to contain a lot of the other goodies that they want to see, that ramped up border security, the tax relief that we all want to see. So yeah, you're going to have to, for them, they're going to have to take some good along with the bad, but that's the beauty of having this big, beautiful bill strategy. It's going to be really tough for people to vote no.
What I don't understand, and maybe this is a minutia that I'm not familiar with all of the DOGE savings, all right, going forward, let's say they can't claw it all back now. Can't they readjust the baseline with that money that we've all agreed that we're not going to spend on anymore, right? We're not going to pay for Drag Queen Story Hour in Ecuador or whatever the hell it is. That if they find hundreds of millions, billions of dollars in money that Republicans say we never should have spent that, can't they readjust the baseline and start from there?
They could. That option is on the table. And in fact, the chairman of the budget committees tells CBO what baseline to use. And that's one of the conversations that they're having now. Should we adopt a baseline that basically says the tax cuts that were passed in 2017 are permanent and they exist into perpetuity? Or should we go off what the law says, which is they expire by and large at the end of 2025? You can direct the CBO as long as the parliamentarian will go along with it, and as long as members of the Senate will go along with it, you can instruct the parliamentarian to use whatever baseline you tell it to. So yes, they could play with these numbers a little bit, and they could build in some of the savings that are going to accrue from the DOGE cuts, some revenue gains that could occur because of tariff increases. All of these things could be built into the baseline if they choose to do so.
Yeah, it would be amazing. We've talked about the debt being unsustainable forever, right? Right? And now we're at like almost 37 trillion. It would be an amazing victory, I would say, for not just Donald Trump and not just Republicans, but for the nation, if next year we were able to go, okay, well, there's $1 trillion in savings that DOGE found. We're going to take, a portion of that and reduce the debt. We're going to pay our creditors, not just service the debt, which is a lie because the debt keeps going up, but actually see the debt rolled back and then continue to roll back. Because what are Democrats going to do? Come into office and say, vote for me so I can raise your taxes and increase the spending and increase the debt that we just got under control?
Yeah, it would certainly put him in a bind there. And listen, both parties are to blame for that nearly $37 trillion in debt. They've both been complicit in the overspending. And now this is the first serious conversation, and Doge is leading the charge, but hopefully they're not the end of the story, because Doge can't do it all on its own. We need Congress to lock in a lot of these spending cuts if they're going to be made permanent. Otherwise, they'll either be undone by the courts or they'll be undone by future administrations. So we need everybody rowing in the same direction here, but we simply can't tolerate multi-trillion-dollar deficits as far as the eye can see. At some point, we don't know which straw will break the camel's back, but at some point, a straw will break the camel's back, and we'll start to see a real collapse in our economy. And, you know, folks like Ralph Norman know that well. It was on your show earlier. But unfortunately, not everybody in Congress has gotten the message yet, but that's what we're here for.
Is it a lack of, this is what I don't understand. I'm going to run out of time here. You know, the budget exploded. Look, Donald Trump was in a no-win situation with COVID, but Biden kept that spending level after COVID. Shouldn't we be resetting the baseline to $4.4 trillion where we were in 2019? I got 30 seconds.
Yes, we are spending money at an unprecedented pace. The spending right now as a percentage of our economy is the highest it's been since 1946, if you take out the pandemic and the financial crisis of 2008. Let's get back down to spending of 2019, 2020. It would do a world of good for our budget health. We shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, and then start reducing from there. All right,
Sure.
Brandon, thanks for joining us. I got to wrap here.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.